Welcome to Inspire Campfire, a podcast where ordinary people tell their stories of extraordinary adventure. These are campfire stories meant to inspire the rest of us to light the fire within, get outside, follow our dreams, and return to tell our own stories. Ready? Let's strike the match.
Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Scott Wurzbacher, and today we'll be exploring what happens when luxury meets nature and when hospitality is rooted in something deeper than service. Our guest is Sharyn Means, a New Zealand native and the CEO of Dove's Rest Cabins, a stunning resort perched on the rim of the Palo Duro Canyon, the second largest canyon in the U.S. Sharyn and her husband have created a space where guests are invited to slow down, breathe deeply, and reconnect, not just with nature, but with themselves. What makes Dove's Rest Cabins a truly special experience is the blend of Southern charm and New Zealand spirit of Manaaki, a Maori concept centered on care, respect, and meaningful connection. It's an experience that goes beyond beautiful views and luxurious cabins. It's about feeling genuinely welcomed and seen. Sharyn and her husband bring their natural gift of hospitality to their guests, and I can't wait to share that with all of you today. Sharyn, welcome to the campfire.
Thank you, Scott. It's nice to be here.
Oh, I'm so excited to hear this journey. You have such a amazing experience that you've brought over from New Zealand to share with us here and in the local region there in Texas where you are. Let's just dive right in. Can we start with you telling us what the Dove Rest Cabins is?
We're a collection of 20 cabins located over a 3-mile area on the western north rim of the Palo Duro Canyon State Park. So we haven't just created tiny homes that are stuck in one place. We've spread them out to encompass the views, but also give people privacy and quietness, but they're not totally alone. So it's a blend of having your own space, but it's still a short-term rental that you can come and go from. Nice.
So can you tell us a little bit? It's funny. I mean, when I first got to know you, you mentioned that the Palo Duro Canyon is the second largest canyon in the U.S., but yet it's clearly not as well known as the Grand Canyon, and many hadn't even heard of it. And I'm one of those. Could you tell us a little bit about where you're located, and then we'll get into the canyon itself?
We're about 35 miles southwest of Amarillo. So we're in the top of the Panhandle. We're definitely closer to Oklahoma than we are Louisiana. I mean, it takes us a day and a half to get out of Texas if we head that way.
Yeah.
But we're very close to Amarillo.
Okay.
And that is our largest city. And then we have a smaller town that is only about 15 minutes away that has everything by the name of Canyon. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm amazed when we travel, how many people have never, ever heard of Palo Duro Canyon.
It's amazing. I mean, I've seen the pictures on your website. I mean, it's absolutely stunning. Can we talk a little bit about the Palo Duro Canyon, especially for people that aren't familiar with it? Can you describe it, kind of tell us a little bit about the landscape and what people would find there in the canyon?
Yeah, to describe it is probably one of the most difficult things that I have to do, because there is landscape, there is canyon walls, there is a multitude of colors. But, Palo Duro Canyon is so full of history with the Indian tribes, the early settlers coming here. I mean, the Texas musical gives this most phenomenal high-level count of what Palo Duro Canyon was back then. But it actually brings, in Palo Duro Canyon, for the views, it also creates a sense of serenity here. It's the beauty draws you in, but it's not just a visual thing. It also draws you in spiritually and in your heart to when you look at the ruggedness of the canyon and imagine 150 years ago what this place meant to the people that came here, how hard they had to work to be here. And it hasn't changed. That landscape is still raw and natural. So you really can embrace how tough our ancestors or your ancestors were in creating this area. But it's been here thousands and thousands of years. They have found dinosaur bones down in there.
Wow.
So it's been here a long time, and it'll be here for a long time more, as long as people cherish it, respect it, and look after it. And that's kind of something I grew up with Manaki, being able to cherish, conserve, and sustain what we have. And being able to embrace it all. And that is what I felt when I got here. And that created the story that we're going to dive into, because this is not the same as New Zealand in landscape by any stretch of the imagination. We do not have canyons, but it has the same meaning and same feeling to me as what I grew up with.
I love it. So and I want to dig into that story. There's a couple things you touched on though, that and we're talking about a canyon when they go deep. So I like to go deep on this podcast, which is good. And you mentioned, you mentioned that the views allow people the sense of serenity. And you said that the canyon has the capacity to, what your words, to touch you spiritually and in your heart. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if you could just take us one level deeper on that.
Probably the day I first stepped foot here, the view was incredible, but that's not what I felt. What I felt was just, there is something here that draws you in. And sometimes you can't put it into words as far as that feeling, but that feeling that I got, and everybody gets a different feeling, is there is a history here, there is a peace, and the views are maybe second to that. And we hear that a lot from the guests, that the quiet, the peace, the reflection that you get when you sit here and you look at this.
I love that. So you mentioned the peace and the quiet, but you also, the second time, you mentioned the history that's there. Mm-hmm. And you did share with me when we spoke the first time. Could you is there like a 30-second or even a couple minute overview of some of the history that's gone on there?
It was the last standing place of the Comanche Indian. And, a lot of the Pueblo, Aztec, Comanches, Kiowa, there's a lot of the Indian tribes that have been identified as being here. It becomes a very safe haven in the winter. We don't get a lot of snow here, but the canyon walls become a great protector of the wind. And right back before the Europeans came in here, the canyon was full of hardwood, and that was kind of where they could hunt. Off the canyon walls, they were able to hunt, and the buffalo would come here in the winter for protection as well, away from the snow. So it became a very strong hunting and safety area for a lot of the history. We still find relics now, arrowheads, tools, pieces of flint that have all been shaped either into an arrowhead We have some of the original barbed wire here as art on the property, dating back to 1860, and we've even got the cedar fence post it was still attached to that. So, you know, when we come across stuff like that on the property, we try to make sure we can either put it somewhere we really want our guests and people to see it and understand it, but also at the same time protect it so it's not just sitting on the side of a pasture or something like that and it gets destroyed. We're never ever going to find a lot of this stuff ever again. And, you know, you guys are fortunate. You've got that kind of history. I come from a very young country and we have history, but it's not a history that we really know much about. We've only been there since the 1800s. You guys have been around a lot longer in this land than we have, and we need to look after it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Well, so let's get into that, your history and sort of your upbringing. And I know I'm going to give you some freedom here because I want to like come back to that. What you just talked about is like the first time you felt that feeling there in the canyon, because I want to make sure we can start there or we can come back to it. But I want to kind of bring the story around to like how you ended up in that place where you felt that, like essentially how you ended up in the canyon and felt that feeling for the first time.
Yeah. Where I grew up in one of the most southern Pacific islands in the world. When people refer to New Zealand as down under, we are pretty much down under. We're as low as you can get without, you know. But New Zealand was inhabited by the Polynesian. We are a Polynesian island. And they were not the friendliest, but they all respected each other. And, you know, when the Europeans came to New Zealand, that started to change the whole way of life to a certain degree. But New Zealand has always had an adage of living off the land, respecting the land, because we're so small. Mm-hmm. And to put it into context, the easiest way that I find to put it into context for people is the 2 islands of New Zealand can fit into Texas 5 times.
Wow.
Okay, so that's pretty small. Texas is big, but when you think about New Zealand being a country, we're so far away and we're so limited in our resources that everybody lived off the land. Even in the 60s and 70s when I was a kid, everybody had a vegetable garden, fruit trees, everything like that. You grew up, your neighbours were like aunties and uncles, and that wasn't just the ones right next door. That was the whole street. You could not go anywhere in the little country town I lived without mum and dad finding out. It was it was great when you're a parent, but you know, as a teenager, it's not that good when the whole town knows. But New Zealand's very much like the US was in the 70s. Even now, it's that very friendly, low-key living. The kids can still ride their bikes and everybody talks to everybody. And that's how I grew up. 5 years old, able to ride a tricycle to first grade.
Nice.
And you couldn't even imagine that here of your child biking to school. And so with my upbringing and my background, everything that I've instilled here has been based on that upbringing. Mm-hmm. It's been based on Kiora, everything is Kiora is welcome, be well, healthy. And in that we encompass the friendliness, the respect, and the generosity. And it's like treating everybody that comes here as family. It didn't matter who came to your house when I was growing up. They were always greeted with a smile. They were always treated with respect. And that's how we see our guests. You are coming, when you come through that gate or you open that door of the cabin, you're coming into our home. And if I was welcoming you into my physical home, it would be with a smile. It would be with courtesy and respect. Just because this is a separate home as one of our cabins or houses, as some people refer to them, I'm going to give you that same feeling, that same welcome. Right down to whenever somebody's a repeat guest, we put in there a personalized welcome back card. They have Dove's chocolates. Some of the cabins, we put snacks in them because if they want to go hiking, well, here's a granola bar, here's water. So it's like you would do exactly the same for a family. And that's what makes us different, is we might be listed on Airbnb and we might be a short-term rental, but when you get here, you're actually, every single person is acknowledged and treated as if they're family.
I love it. And so you used a term, Kiora.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give us some background and context on that term?
Kiora predominantly in New Zealand is used as hello or welcome. Okay. Just like we say hi here or hello, you'd say Kiora. But the overall meaning is, it is welcome, but it's also wishing you well-being and to be healthy. So it's kind of, in a sense, probably like a blessing, I'm wishing you the best in everything.
I love this. I'm having and I don't know if you can answer this or if you can relate, but not too long ago, I did an episode with our podcast producer, Brian, and he has a podcast called Hawaii's Best. And he talked with me at great length about the aloha spirit. Mm-hmm. And I'm getting a vibe here that, and, both Polynesian, right? Islands. And, I'm kind of having this association in my mind right now that the aloha spirit and this idea of Kiora are very similar.
Very similar. And look, I couldn't tell you, but there's a good chance that some of the Polynesian early settlers in New Zealand could have come from Hawaii.
Yeah.
They came from, a number of the different Pacific islands. So, it's just like early immigrants here. There's just such a blend. And Jeff and I were talking about that the other day. It'd be really interesting to know exactly how much connection between New Zealand and Hawaii there actually is.
So interesting. And I love that.
I'm not sure how I could find out more, but I'm definitely going to look into it because there might be more American connection to New Zealand than what anybody really realizes.
Yeah, well, I love this whole idea of Kiora. There's another term that you used when we spoke before, and this is the Maori concept of manaki. And manaki. We could maybe jump into that one.
Yeah, manaki means to cherish, conserve, and sustain. And it encompasses the soil, the rocks, the plants, the animal, and the people inhabiting the land. And that really is the same here. Jeff and I have a passion for hospitality, but both of us have a passion for the land, the nature, the wildlife. Everything is sacred. Everything has a reason, even down to those pesky little flies that you get. Every part of nature has a part to play. And something that we do is to ensure that when we create something, that it works with the land. People ask about landscaping, and I've worked out that landscaping to keep something looking wild is way more expensive than landscaping to plant a bunch of flowers. So we work our landscaping based on what the land is and what it tells us it needs. And that's Manaki. It's encompassing what the land is, what it can provide, what it does, and what animals need this land. The animals on our property have priority. If they're crossing the road, you stop and you let them cross the road.
Yeah.
And believe me, the ones around here stay around here a lot, and they'll look at you when they're crossing the road as if to say, you wait. And they'll just keep walking until the whole herd has gone over.
That's so cool. So you said something that I want to ask you about. You said that you guys do your landscaping based on the land telling us what it needs.
Mm-hmm.
Could you just tell us a little bit more about how does the land tell you what it needs?
We watch, especially around the canyon edges, we make sure that if there is any signs of erosion, we will create a diverter of some sort to push the water away. We watch the level of the grass, how much is dropping off any of the junipers or the trees around here to make sure that they're not getting damaged in any way. So, but we limit the amount of roadways, and roadways, we don't use concrete or anything. We keep them with very natural elements. We've just created another section of trails that is all done with natural elements. All of our main entrances are done with rocks and stones and coyote fencing. We don't go into anything that is not something you would normally find in this area. So we keep our mowing up. I've been Texas. Yes, there are rattlesnakes. Okay. Mm-hmm. But we do everything to keep them away, and very rarely do we have anything near any of the cabins. But we also let our guests know if you're going to go walking on the trails, you just keep your eyes open. But again, we make sure we keep that landscape where it needs to be.
Yeah.
But the big thing here is we are on a canyon, and you do get erosion, you do get rain. So keeping an eye on that and diverting, using berms and just diverting it off if we see anything happening is going to save that. We've got cabins that are on the rims, but we do not put them right on the edge. We don't put that pressure on the canyon.
Yeah, makes total sense. So I love, you kind of brought it together for me now. So we talk about these two concepts, Kiora and Manaaki. And now that you've described it to me, it's basically bringing together your natural abilities and gifts with hospitality, which is the Kiora, with this kind of stewardship for the land, which is the Manaaki. Mm-hmm. Now I understand how you brought those together. It's a nice integration there. I really enjoy that. So I want to help listeners understand how this all came about. How did we go from New Zealand to the Palo Duro Canyon?
I actually arrived 10 years ago. I did have time back here in the 80s and 90s and was in Texas and loved Texas. My youngest son came over here at a very young age of 18 by himself, and I ended up staying here with him in 2016. Got my green card, got a job, I'm actually now an American citizen, have been for nearly 2 years now.
Nice.
And I'm proud of that. Ended up back here in Texas, and believe it or not, that's where I met Jeff. He was up here. I was in San Antonio. He made a lot of trips down there for buying consignment furniture and all of that type of thing. He built the very first cabin, Fortress Cabin, in 2010.
Cool.
He ended up having to go back to Austin. He still had a full-time job. And his so-called holiday home, he could never get to come and stay in it because he'd put it on VRBO and it was constantly booked. It grew from there. And in 2015, there was 5 in total that he had at that point. And that's when Dove's Rest officially was turned into a company.
Cool.
2018 is when I came on the scene.
Okay.
But from 2018 to 2021, we went from 5 to 20.
Wow.
So Jeff's background is he was in the hospitality incentive business for 35 odd years. Okay. So he traveled the world, 50 countries in total that he's been to, stayed in very high-end 5-star hotels, and that's what he wanted to bring back to here. That's where he started. But then he got bitten by the bug of the land and the beauty and the peace and quiet and the serenity. That's where we started to turn from, okay, we have the luxury with the cabin, but we want the raw and natural to blend with that.
Yeah.
So everything went from there. So Jeff is the visionary. He can create these great manifestations and pictures in his head. I can see them, but I don't create them. What I do is he comes to me with the idea and it's my job to put it together.
Nice. It's a great team.
It is a great team, but I never realized, I think, the skills that I did possess. He is the one that came to me after a couple of years and he said, do you know what you do? And I'm like, yeah, I'm now in the hospitality industry. I'm no longer a construction project manager, which is very different. He said, no. He said, you've brought New Zealand to this place. He said, nice. People love talking to you. You make them smile. He said, you look after them. And I'm like, isn't that what you're meant to do? And he says, it's not what happens here now. And I'm like, well, it should. This is what I do. I can't change that. And that's when we started to realize that what we were developing was not just service, we can bring you a clean towel.
Yeah.
We were delivering service that had no limits. And that is something that we've gone through and really empowered our staff on it. And they started getting such beautiful messages back from guests that they dealt with and compliments and everything that I think on an everyday basis we don't see very often now. But instilling in them, just treat everybody like it's your mum and dad. Mm. And they've done that and it's just developed even more. It's developed into where, people just, I've learned more people's life histories just by talking to them on the phone because they want to tell us. Help people out. Life happens. We have a strict cancellation policy, but you fall over and break your leg, I'm not going to say no, you're within the cancellation policy, but I'll move your date for you. How long's the doctor said your leg's going to take to heal? Yeah. Okay, well, let's look at 4 months out. You know, that's what we do.
Yeah.
I mean, we look after people in the best way possible, no matter what the circumstances are.
This is the Kiora that we're talking about.
Yeah.
I love it. So when you and I first spoke, obviously the Palo Duro Canyon is a place where you can hike and you can find adventure. And that's, so much about, I think what kind of brought us together is just this idea of adventure. But when we spoke, I think I got the feeling from you that more folks maybe come there to just find peace and quiet, not even necessarily adventure, but you shared with me that you wanted to provide a place where people could just stop, take a breath and really just get a deep rest.
Yeah. And you know what? We don't do that these days. We really don't. Everything is just go, go, go. And you miss so much if you don't stop. And we have a lot of people come here and they stop and they listen. And it's amazing what you can hear in the quiet. But it's giving somewhere that you can disconnect to reconnect. Mm-hmm. And even though that's the weirdest thing to hear, we've actually got to disconnect from the outside world to be able to reconnect to the outside world. Even people that work Monday to Friday, they take the weekends off, but they're exhausted still when they go back to work on Monday because they haven't actually stopped. They haven't taken a breath. We have a lot of people that come here for that. We have this beautiful lady that comes here twice a year. She has an ill husband that she takes care of, and she comes here and spends a week. She gets a massage in our teepee every day. And she's told me this is her only way she can cope for month after month, taking care of him, is to then come and sit here and drink her cup of coffee outside in the morning, watch the aoudad, listen to the birds, take some deep breaths of fresh air, and just stop. And that is something that a lot of people do come here to do. They come here for hiking. But in seeing that, that's what had us create our own little walking trails. Within the 30 acres, we created our own walking trail that is much more, it's an easier walk. Mm-hmm. But you get to go down into an area of looking over the canyon that is just so unique. You can't see it from anywhere else. But now the older people that can't hike the canyon have got an experience. The families with the little 3-4-year-olds that can't hike the canyon with mum and dad, they get to walk on this trail. They get to see all the art and different areas and down into a deep cavern part of the canyon. So we saw what people were coming here for, but we saw what people were missing out on that weren't physically capable or didn't want to venture down into the canyon.
Yeah. So I love this. And I know that it sounds like you guys have a lot of repeat guests that come back. I'm curious, for the people that come for the first time, do they know what they're coming for? Do they know that they need to disconnect to reconnect? Or is that like something that they experience and like have an awakening while they're there?
I think it's something they experience. A lot of people come here initially to hike the canyon or go mountain biking or see the Texas musical. And then they actually realize there's more to this place than what's outside the gates. We get a lot of the photos do not do this place justice.
Yeah.
But I think that's because it's the feeling that comes with it. Photos can't give you feeling. They can't give you sensory experiences. They can't give you just that tingle of what is it? What has made this place different? And that's, they come here for one certain reason, but they leave having a number of others to come back.
So who are your customers?
We always thought it was the baby boomers. Okay. And it still is, but they're bringing their kids and their grandkids. But what we're seeing now is kind of the younger generation that are starting to realize, and I think that is a key, the younger generation are starting to realize they have to stop. They have to take a break. They want the adventure, but they want luxury. They want to be looked after. They want to actually stop and see. And we've talked to a number of 20-somethings, 30-somethings, and they're actually really interested in the history of the place. And so it's turning into a different clientele. Our baby boomers will always be here. They're repeat guests after repeat guests. I mean, we've got one guest that I think he's up to stay number 15 with us.
Wow, that's awesome.
He actually stayed in Fortress when it first opened in 2010. So you're talking somebody, you don't come back for 15 years if there's not something special about the place.
Yeah, absolutely. Where do your customers come from?
All over the place. We have a lot of overseas travelers. Predominantly, if I had to put the highest percentage, they are Texas, Oklahoma, Colorado based.
Cool.
But Washington, New York, Minnesota, Pennsylvania, New Mexico, they're all over the place. I've recently just had some people from California. It really is all over the entire country. Quite a few Canadians too.
How do they get to you?
They normally find us on the website.
Yep.
Which is dovesrestcabins.com.
Yep.
We also are listed on Google and VRBO and Airbnb. And a lot of it's word of mouth. Yeah. We just had a family reunion last weekend. So there were 40 people, 40 couples in this family reunion. So those 40 people or couples now go back to where they came from, and that word of mouth grows.
Yeah, that's amazing.
We've got another family reunion this weekend. We've got another family reunion 30th of July through 2nd of August in that time frame. So because we can do groups, having an array of 20 cabins, and we have a patio venue area, we do weddings. So again, that's what's spreading it further throughout the country, is because those people come in for an event, experience, and go back and tell their friends and grow.
Yeah, totally.
Nothing is more powerful than word of mouth.
Oh, I 100% agree. Being in the business that I'm in, my other business is real estate. So, that's how we drive our business as well. So I completely understand that. But, and for listeners, as we talk about all the descriptions that we've gone through. Your website's fantastic. It's got great photos. So definitely for people that are listening that are intrigued by the conversation, they have to get the visual. Definitely go to the Dove's Rest Cabins to check out the visual aspect of everything we're talking about. So that's how people find you. How do they physically get to you?
Don't use iMaps.
Okay.
So each property has its own address. Okay. And because we are about privacy and security for our guests, that information is actually sent out to you 14 days before you arrive. Okay. So we are very protective of the actual cabin addresses. Mm-hmm. However, if you head out from Canyon or Amarillo area and just focus towards heading towards Palo Duro Canyon, or if you look up Palo Duro Canyon, approximately 1 mile before you hit the canyon, you'll see a big sign on the roadway entrance into where our property is that says Dove's Rest Cabins, and there's a big arrow. Love it. So people will come out via that. We have billboards on I-40, I-27, Highway 283, and we get a lot of calls and business from those billboards. Yeah. But if they get to where our property is and the gate, there is always somebody that's going to take them around and show them the property.
Love it. Do you have any fun stories you can share about client experiences, any transformations that you've seen?
I don't know if I'd call this fun, but it ended up being fun. I got a phone call at 6:30 in the morning, and it was a lady, and she sounded kind of agitated or upset in a way, and so I got her talking. Her and her daughter, 16-year-old daughter, were on a road trip. They wanted to do 2 or 3 days in Amarillo area, check everything out. They had not slept all night. The Airbnb that they'd booked, they were petrified. It was not in a great area. That she looked up to see what else was around here, and one of our cabins popped up, but she was very, very hesitant. I got in my truck and met them halfway between Amarillo and Canyon, talked to them on the side of the road for about 15 minutes. They followed me back here. I showed them around everywhere. I took them into the cabin. I let them feel what they needed to feel. They saw we had security gates. They ended up staying with us for 4 nights. Yes. She cried and she said, I didn't know what to do. And it's like, I've had 3, none quite as emotional as that one, but 3 others that have called, we can't stay where we are. And, the house has got mold or whatever. We go out, we meet them, we get them in there and we look after them. Being able to do that for somebody is huge. And that just touches me, that I'm able to do that. But we have lots of fun stories. We've met some extremely hard case fun people. We've got quite a few reviews. A group of sisters probably were the hardest case ladies that we've ever had stay here, and it's probably the funniest review we've ever got because they were arguing between each other about what to say. So everybody has different experiences here, but I think, the mother and daughter being able to do what we were able to do for them and get in the car and the truck and go meet them is just a big point of difference to what we are able to provide.
This is the Kiara, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, husband wasn't too happy about me driving off on my own, but, it wasn't about me. It was, I put myself in their shoes, and somebody would do that for me, then I'm going to do it for them.
Well, it's an amazing story. And I'm somebody that is in the real estate business, as I mentioned as well. Like, I'm very intrigued and impressed by, Jeff building this place in 2010. And then in a very short period of time, you went from 5 to 20. I'm curious how you guys were able to expand so quickly. And was that expansion driven by this service that you provide?
I think each time we get to pretty much like we are now, we're full more than our occupancy is sitting above normal. And we get more and more phone calls. Have you got availability this weekend? Have you got availability here? And we've got to say no. So each stage has always kind of come about because we're getting told it's time for another growth spurt.
Got it.
So we do have expansion plans. The first one is actually next year, beginning of the year. We're actually going to build an office and a lobby out near the front gate for those people that do just want to come first off and have a look. Cool. But we're going to have a store in there as well where, we get asked we give guests flutes with, our logo on it, and we have T-shirts and we have coffee cups and we have coasters, and a lot of those are just things that go into the cabins, but we've got people now that want to buy them. Yeah. They want hats to take back to the grandkids. Yeah. So we're going to create a coffee lounge with with office and with a lobby, and probably on a Sunday morning we'll do muffins and bagels and whatever for all departing guests. So there is expansion with that next year, and same time in the process we're looking at maybe another 6 or 7 cabins.
I love it. So I'm curious, in 2010, when Jeff built that first cabin, do you think he had any idea that it was going to get to where it is now?
No. Yeah. He always knew he had to create an end game. Mm-hmm. And he'd initially thought, I'll do a bread and breakfast. That would be kind of cool. Okay. Then it changed to just the one house, the one cabin. And it kind of went from there just based on the fact that he got offered more land. He got offered, and so I was like, okay, well, I'm getting offered it for a reason. There's a reason I'm doing this. And it just went from there. And once he started seeing that growth, and then I came on board, his vision has got bigger and bigger and bigger. And just not just in units, but in services and things that we can do, which is, where the group business, reunions, business groups, business meetings has come into it. We've now put in our 6 different area for doing wedding ceremonies. So we can cater from 2 people up to 200. So now the goal is, well, we need enough cabins to sleep 200. So, so he's kind of growing quite a bit. Yeah. But, we have a dedicated concierge and wedding group coordinator. We have a dedicated operations manager. We have a dedicated maintenance manager. So what was a 1 and 2 person resort is now we have to have different divisions and teams, and that is the only way to do it.
It feels like that's all just a product of you all following your passion. And so I'm curious, like going back to that first time that you stood at the canyon and you felt that feeling. Like, how about you? Did you ever imagine it would that feeling would turn into this?
No, not that initial feeling, because I was still corporate job, but it was just something, it's that you get that chill, you get that, it just forces you to take that deep breath, and it's as if everything just disappears. And from there, I created the passion. I've always had a passion for the land. And I actually looked up what my name means, spelt with a Y, and it means passion for land, that
awesome.
I'm always going to be land-based. So it was quite interesting in that regard. But
that's so cool. Sharyn, passion for land.
Yeah.
I love that so much.
That's the Hebrew meaning of Sharyn. And it was really interesting to find that out.
So 7 years in, do you still find yourself getting that feeling? Do you still find those moments of peace in the canyon?
Yeah. I'll sit out we've got swings on our patio here. And if I need to stop, if I need to work something out, just if I need to settle down, sometimes it's so busy here, you've got to force yourself to settle down. That's where I go. And don't talk, don't do anything. You only need 15 minutes and you're like, okay, it's not as bad as I thought it was.
Yeah. So I love this. I mean, it all started with one short-term rental essentially, and, mix in some Kiara and some Manaaki, and lo and behold, following the passion that is Sharyn, and then this all comes. You guys have done such an incredible thing with the Doves Rest cabins. And I know that at some point, Hollywood is going to pick up on this story of growth, and they're going to want to make a movie about you. And I want to know, when they do, who's going to be the Hollywood actress that's going to play you in your movie?
There's actually probably only one, and that'd be Julia Roberts.
Nice. Okay. Love it.
I mean, about the same age. I grew up watching all her movies.
Yeah.
But, to me, she is a kick-butt lady.
Yeah.
She is passionate. She fights for whatever she needs to. And so that's kind of me.
It's perfect. I love it. Do you think she can pull off the New Zealand accent?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Of course she can.
So. I think so. I think it's going to be awesome. Hey, Sharyn, what's your movie going to be called?
Confront Life.
Ooh. Wow. Confront Life.
Because that's what you got to do. You got to confront it. You got to take it face on and do it with passion.
Love it. Wow. Confront Life starring Julia Roberts. It's going to be an epic movie. I cannot wait to see it. Sharyn, thank you so much for spending some time with me today. This has been so much fun. Definitely encourage people to go to dovesrestcabins.com to check out the website and to book a stay. Go find some deep rest in the Palo Duro Canyon. And for those listening, I hope you've been inspired today as much as I have. I hope Sharyn's story has encouraged you to listen to the voice inside that calls you to adventure, because we want to hear your story next. If you have a story to tell or just need a nudge to create one, please send me an email. We'd also appreciate it if you'd help us spread the word by leaving a review and sharing or tagging Inspire Campfire in your social media. And until next time, I want to encourage you to get outside. Thanks for listening. Sharyn, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Take care.